Welcome back to another edition of ESBR Boxing. I'm Thomas, joined by my colleague Paul, and today we'll be discussing our final predictions for Diego Pacheco versus Steven Nelson tonight in Las Vegas. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, interact with our content any way you can. That would be greatly appreciated. So, Paul, let's get into it, man. Uh, the fight is finally upon us. Diego Pacheco versus Steven Nelson. How do you think it's going to go down?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Thomas. I'm looking forward to this one. I always enjoy doing fights with you. More often than not American fights, obviously, as you're our expert. But yeah, mate, this is a fight I'm looking forward to. I think it is a step up for Pacheco. I do believe that. However, I fully expect him to pass that test with flying colours once again. Um, I've discussed with Elliot Grigg before on the preview, so if you haven't checked that out, please do so. I think Diego Pacheco is the real deal. Still so young, only 23 years of age, a big super middleweight with, in my opinion, scope to potentially go to light heavyweight and even cruiserweight in years to come. But that's way further down the line. For now, I think he's a real problem at super middleweight. I think he's ready to be unleashed right now. I mean, I know you can only beat what's put in front of you, but it's evidently been quite difficult to match Diego Pacheco. Um, but you can't criticize someone for having maybe some people think, oh, he's had a few knockovers. Yeah, well, that's because other of these big names maybe aren't wanting to fight. And I believe that Stephen Nelson is a game. He is a good fighter in his own right, but I think Pacheco will stop him. I'm going for Diego Pacheco to win this fight via knockout. I'm going run the mid rounds, and let me say round 6 or 7. I'm going to go for Diego Pacheco to win this fight via knockout. Maybe 6, 7, 8. How about you, Thomas?
Yeah, I agree as far as the victor and the method of victory. I think Diego Pacheco will win by stoppage. However, I think that perhaps it will go a little bit later. I think, in my opinion, there's still some questions to be asked about Pacheco. Um, he's still seems to be quite green. Um, he had that last fight against Sulecki, who's been around. I know people might remember him for his fight with Danny Jacobs back in the day. Um, but outside of that, there isn't really a whole lot there. So I think, we still have a lot to learn about him, and we still have a lot to learn about Steven Nelson as well. Um, but I do think that perhaps Nelson will give him a little bit of trouble early on, maybe in the first half of the fight. Uh, he has a kind of a pressure style, right? Nelson, he likes to back his guys up, put him, put the pressure on him, back him into the corner, and put some work on him. And uh, I think it would be interesting to see how Diego Pacheco deals with that. But I think he will deal with it fine. I think he will win the majority of the rounds up until the stoppage. So yeah, I see him winning um, round 10 or 11 stoppage. Perhaps Nelson wins a few rounds early on. Um, but I don't see him winning, and I see Pacheco getting it done. So we both are in agreement as far as Pacheco winning. Um, but I want to get your thoughts on what do you think the ceiling is for Pacheco? Like I mentioned, we still don't know a whole lot about him, but how good do you think he is, and what do you think would be the next step for him, assuming that he gets past Nelson?
Yeah, it's a good question, Thomas. I think it all depends on what happens with Canelo, doesn't it, really, and the belt situation. I mean, he's kind of got them all tied up, doesn't he, really, by the IBF? Um, is he going to fight Terence Crawford? I, I don't know. Let's say the belts get fragmented. I don't think Pacheco's too far away from a vacant title shot or something like that because he is quite well ranked with a couple of the governing bodies. In saying that, I said it on the preview before as well. Like, um, maybe people say I'm a little bit too high on Diego Pacheco, but for my money, if you put him in with Canelo tomorrow, we beat him. Um, so I think Diego Pacheco is the real deal and could be one of the best fighters at 168 already. And I think he's just going to keep on proving that until he eventually gets his shot. But yeah, as you can tell, Thomas, and it's seen by the surprise in your face, I'm quite high on Pacheco right now.
Yeah, I gotta admit I am quite surprised. Um, that would be interesting to see. I think 168 right now, perhaps I'm wrong, it just seems a bit top heavy. Um, it seems like as Canelo holds three of the four belts, and then there's William Skull. Um, outside of him and guys like Caleb Plant, um, I'm probably forgetting a few names as well. There's Steven Nelson too. There's just like not it's not a whole lot going on at 168. So like you said, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a title shot soon. Just based off of, he is highly ranked. So I think that assuming he gets past Nelson, that will most likely happen. But we'll have to see. I think that this it's going to be a tough, in my opinion, I think that it could be a tough test for him just based off of what we haven't seen from Checo so as far as like level of opponents. I'll be interested to see how he deals with Nelson. But anyway, the the talent is there. He does have the skills, the boxing IQ, physical ability. He displayed, some very good boxing ability in his uh and against Selecki as well. Slowed the fight down and was a lot more disciplined and stayed behind his jab. So showing all the right things as far as being a champion goes. So yeah, we'll have to see what he does in the future, but we'll see how he does against Pacheco. So, Paul, as always, thank you for joining, and as always, for the people watching, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Pleasure as always.